Hey there. I never imagined I'd reach out to strangers on the internet for advice, but here I am. My wife and I have been together for 10 years, married for 8. We met in college and were each other's first and only partners. I used to think our relationship was special because of that, but now it seems that was just my perspective. A while back, my wife started a new job. Initially, she had a hard time fitting in because she's always been reserved. With some encouragement from me, she made friends with a group of girls. Initially, I was happy about it, but then she started going out for drinks and parties with them. I got worried about her change in behavior and tried talking to her about it, but I didn't want to restrict her. This started affecting our relationship in the bedroom. My wife wasn't one to initiate closeness, and as she continued going out, she either became too tired or wasn't in the mood. At some point, her company got a new manager whom she and her friends liked. She began mentioning him, even pointing out how he handled non-work-related problems. I questioned her about him, and she brushed off my concerns. She even asked if I regretted not having more experience with women, but I said no because she was all I needed. I thought I saw a moment of sadness in her eyes, but she quickly changed the subject. She brought up open marriages to spice up our relationship, which surprised me. My wife was never like that, to be honest. I initially refused, questioning if it had to do with the new manager, but she denied it, saying she felt like she missed out but didn't want to lose me. I warned her it was risky, then reluctantly and naively agreed. We set some rules, mainly not to sleep with another person in our home. For a year, my wife went on dates, had one-night stands, and somehow ended up in a relationship with that manager. I, on the other hand, had a few dates but avoided one-night stands because it felt wrong to me. My wife would ask if I was okay, but I didn't really want to change her behavior. At some point, I felt the love I had for her fading, and it was damaging me inside. I went on a date with an amazing woman from South Korea, and we hit it off. The conversation was easy, and she had a quick wit and a smile that was unforgettable. This led to more dates, and eventually, we became faithful. I never experienced closeness like that before, and I didn't know a woman could be so giving and make someone feel so desirable. At first, my wife thought it was cute, but as months passed, she questioned my relationship with my new lover. I reminded her that this was her idea, and even though she was in a relationship with the manager, I was concerned about it. She stayed silent, looking like she wanted to say something but held back. She started coming home early, surprising me with dinner and cleaning the house extra. She also came to my workplace to drop off lunch and initiated closeness in the bedroom. If it weren't for her suggestion of an open marriage, I would have been thrilled about all this. I reluctantly gave in to her attempts at closeness, and when I did, it was just to get it over with. Something in me towards my wife died, and I could see she felt it too. I asked what brought about this change in her, and the response was that she wanted to show me love and happiness. I burst out laughing unintentionally. I asked about her friends, the manager lover, or the one-night stands. She didn't respond that day and went to bed in tears. The next day, I came home to find her waiting for me. She admitted the open marriage was a horrible mistake, expressing regret and wanting to focus on us again. I told her to be honest and tell me what inspired all this in the first place. Turns out, her group of friends planted the idea because of their numerous close exploits. When the manager came around, he surprisingly supported that lifestyle and encouraged my wife to live freely. It seems their emotional connection turned physical only after they opened up the marriage. She compared it to being like a drunk driver speeding down the road, exhilarating and intoxicating. However, the consequences of this choice have become too much for her to handle. She now realizes that she didn't need a comparison. What they had was truly unique and special. Unfortunately, she feels like she destroyed our marriage and any chance of a future together. When I told her I might never see her as my wife again, it made her break down in front of me. I simply held her in silence as she cried until she fell asleep in my arms on the couch. She has since quit her job and severed ties with all her friends and her manager. She even expressed her willingness to spend the rest of her life making it up to me, working hard to be seen as a wife again. However, I haven't cut off contact with my lover. Frankly, my lover makes me feel like a man who can take on the world, something my wife hasn't done in a while. The truth is, I don't know what to do in this situation. I'd love to recapture that special feeling, but my lover essentially saved me when I was at my lowest. Please help me. I forgot to mention we have our first marriage counseling session in a couple of hours. I'm uncertain how it will go. I'll post an update on our therapy session as it definitely needs it, but I'll answer some questions. First, my lover is not married, but she is in an open marriage. Second, my intention for this marriage is still unclear because despite my love for my wife, I struggle with trusting her. Yet I can't let go completely because of our years together. I agreed to counseling to figure out if I can reach a clear resolution and get off the indecisive train. Third, I initially didn't ask for her phone because I didn't want to see an actual image of my wife with another man. The mental images and thoughts were bad enough, and to see the actual picture would have shattered me even more. Also, this morning, as I got out of the shower, I saw my mother holding my phone, silently shaking as she read a message I had received. I took it from her without saying anything. The message was from my lover saying, "Good morning, handsome. I slept in your t-shirt last night because I miss going to bed and waking up in your arms. I miss greeting the new day with a kiss from you." I think this upset my wife because she has been following me for the past 2 hours, even during my jog. I met my lover on an evening when my wife was on one of her dates. I was coming from a bookstore and my lover was being strained by a short, beefy man yelling at her. When he grabbed her arm and violently turned her around, I unconsciously stepped in. I practice judo, but I'm not exceptional. I was able to restrain him and accidentally dislocate his wrist. It turns out she got him fired for aggravation and he didn't take it well. Afterwards, she insisted on buying me coffee as a thank you gesture. And I agreed. Regarding her reaction to the open marriage, she initially hesitated, strongly against being a homewrecker. However, after learning the full extent of my wife's actions from me, she decided to take a risk. Update. The therapist was friendly and experienced. She seemed impartial and genuinely eager to help. Even though it was our first session, my wife used it as a chance to share everything. She confessed that her group of friends made her question if she missed out because she committed to her first boyfriend and had no other experiences. She never had the same adventures as some of these supposedly amazing women. Keep in mind, some are divorced, but none are married. The therapist highlighted that this could hurt a marriage due to differences in mindset. My wife agreed and added that after the new manager started approaching, some friends encouraged her to explore, saying it was a chance for her to discover herself. She obviously felt guilty, she says. So she never did anything physical until a divorced friend suggested an open marriage as a loophole, saying some couples come out stronger. Regrettably, I agreed, and her so-called adventure began. It was thrilling but lacked real substance, unlike what we built over the years. She started questioning her reasons for doing this. She said she could see the hurt in my eyes, but told herself it was an adventure. She thought she had the chance for an amazing experience, so the gravity of it all never occurred until she noticed a change in me. Initially, she assumed I'd accept her situation and be okay with it because I went on dates. But everything changed when my lover became a constant in my adventures. Apparently, I started smiling for no reason, and my eyes lit up with texts or calls. She felt a pit in her stomach and got many panic attacks for no reason. Seeking advice from friends, they said it was a normal reaction for me to have during the adventure. But when the same divorced friend who suggested this said his lover makes him happy, the reality finally dawned on her. The very real possibility that another woman, not his wife, gave him joy almost made her pass out. She realized how ridiculous this all was and begged them to help her win me back. But they just told her if she couldn't deal with it, why did she open her marriage in the first place? She knew then and there that these people were toxic and a threat to our marriage and the life we built. Hence, she's been on a mission to win them back by any means necessary. I, on the other hand, didn't share much, but I did let the counselor know about the situation on my side with my lover still in the picture, to which the counselor said no resolution could ever be reached with my lover still in the picture, and suggested we book another appointment after tomorrow. The counselor did say it was unusual for someone to stay with their first this long, and gave the impression that any storm can be weathered. Update. It's been like a scene from Jerry Springer. I've moved into my brother's apartment at an incredibly low cost. I've uncovered some troubling details about my wife's actions and disturbing things about her manager. In our second counseling session, I asked questions from fellow Redditors, including if she was certain nothing physical occurred before we opened the marriage. She avoided eye contact, pleading with me not to make her say it, fearing it would ruin us. After some pushing, she admitted it wasn't physical, but that they engaged in self-touching in front of each other. This guy convinced her it wasn't technically cheating, just appreciating each other's beauty. I was shocked. and she started shaking and hyperventilating, even crying snot, apologizing profusely. Even the counselor was taken aback at this point. My wife knelt, hugging my legs, expressing deep remorse. I asked what really changed her view of him. She explained his behavior changed when she distanced herself from the group. One evening, she overheard him speaking disrespectfully about her to a male colleague. He boasted about how easy it was to get her, calling her proof that you can't trust quiet ones. When asked if he liked her, he dismissed it as a distraction, emphasizing he had no intention of leaving his fiancée. He pitied me but said, "You snooze, you lose." Realizing she was just an object to him, coupled with betraying me for a thrill, made her suicidal. She left her workplace, vomited, and begged for forgiveness. I asked if she loved him, and when she admitted it, she claimed she never stopped loving me. She suggested starting anew, just the two of us, but I explained it wouldn't be fair to my lover and I needed time away. She had a meltdown, sobbing and saying incoherent things, clinging to me as if I might vanish. It took time for both me and the counselor to calm her. The counselor suggested time apart might help us heal. Now, I wish I could end the update with just this, but as we got home, I began to pack and my wife got a video call from her laptop. It was one of her former friends in tears. After my wife resigned, this friend and the manager began their own affair. But apparently, she had a pregnancy scare, causing him to turn into Dr. Jekyll. To make matters worse, she had a boyfriend she saw a future with, and she only had a fling out of curiosity. Funny how that seems to be a trend. Her boyfriend found out from an email between them discussing the potential pregnancy, but the manager accused her of babysitting him. Of course, he left her, and she contacted my wife, thinking she had saved our marriage and seeking advice. I just turned and left, and I've been staying in the apartment ever since. Update. A lot has occurred as I make decisions about the future. Quite a few significant things happened. The friend who had a pregnancy scare was indeed pregnant, but the stress of losing her boyfriend and facing humiliation from the affair led to a ruin. She reacted strongly, exposing the manager to upper management and his fiancée. I found his fiancée on Facebook. She appears to be the epitome of a charming small-town girl, working as a special needs teacher, a homebody, and very family-focused. My immediate thought was questioning why he'd mess around with other women when he has someone like her at home. Honestly, why men like him end up with women like her is one of life's greatest mysteries. The friend reached out to me, seeking my side of the story for evidence against him, and I agreed to meet in person. Seeing her face, I could tell she was emotionally shattered, with dark circles and red eyes indicating sleepless nights. She thanked me for meeting and apologized for her involvement in my wife's ordeal. It turns out she and my wife spoke, and that's when she learned about my moving out. Without blaming others, she took responsibility, explaining that losing a child and the love of her life changed her to the core. She can barely look in the mirror without feeling disgust, haunted by her ex's face when he found out. This meeting seemed like a form of self-punishment for her self-hatred. She informed me that the manager, due to workplace fraternization and his influential position, might be fired and blacklisted. The same consequences might apply to her, and she accepted it. After hearing my side, she left, and I apologized again. Needing to retrieve some belongings, I went to the old place when I thought my wife wasn't home. Unfortunately, she was there, surrounded by our wedding photos, visibly upset. Seeing me, she tried to hug me and offer lunch, but I declined, explaining that I needed a few things before leaving. She showed me a recent message from her former manager, berating her. Apparently, my wife helped her friend expose him to relevant parties, causing his anger. She got the idea from chump ladies and marriage builders, thinking that exposing the secret would weaken its power and give us a chance. I appreciated her courage, but clarified that it didn't change anything between us. I also mentioned stopping marriage counseling for individual counseling. This made her cry, and she understood. Despite expecting elation or rage, I felt numb towards her. Recognizing this abnormality, I decided to address it in individual counseling, not marriage counseling. I also consulted a divorce lawyer on my brother's recommendation for precaution. Currently, I'm not eager to fight for the marriage, and my wife senses it. Her attempt at closeness ended with my refusal, leading to a loud confrontation. I shook my head, explaining that if she still couldn't understand after all that's happened, our marriage's direction is clear. This is my current stance, at least for now. I enjoyed the Radisson because of its large, roomy lobby, reminiscent of old movie hotels. Standing aside with my sons, Bradley and Terry, we waited for my wife Lauren to arrive for a Wednesday afternoon date. We had been planning this day for weeks, eager to see how it would unfold. Lauren and I were approaching our silver wedding anniversary next week. We married early and had our boys early, both attending Temple University on scholarships. Despite living in Reading, we rarely ventured to downtown Philadelphia. I hadn't experienced a Radisson before, working in the legal department of an accounting firm in Reading. For the past 10 years, I had a regular weekly meeting with a retirement care contractor in Harrisburg, never canceled or rescheduled. That's likely why Lauren chose Wednesdays for her weekly Radisson trips. A 2-hour drive from Reading to downtown Philadelphia in terrible traffic, suggesting its importance to her. My suspicions arose about 2 months ago, noticing little things. The company's investigator, on retainer, willingly took on surveillance work between his regular jobs. It was costly, but I didn't mind. He quickly discovered Lauren was traveling to Philadelphia on Wednesday mornings, meeting a family friend, Kyle Standish, at the Radisson Hotel. Lauren always waited for Kyle in the gift shop. When he arrived, he got a room, walked through the lobby to the payphone, placed an envelope under the payphone, and entered the elevator, always on the 8th floor. Lauren would emerge from the gift shop, take the envelope with the room key, and follow him to his floor. They spent about 3 hours there and then parted ways. Kyle used to work for our company, and we socialized with him and his wife Beth at various company events. A few months ago, Bradley and Terry spotted Kyle at a job fair, and about 2 weeks ago, they reluctantly revealed the situation when Lauren was away. "Dad, if you knew what was happening, why didn't you do anything?" "Terry, I only found out recently. I'm unsure of what I want. I love your mother, and thinking about life without her is difficult. I wish I had never known. Now that I do, I can't ignore it. Any suggestions?" Bradley suggested a radical solution, but I plan on calling Beth to gather more information. It's heartening to see my sons being supportive. They love their mother. 2 days later, I met Beth Standish, who suspected something was wrong but wasn't entirely sure. Beth had caught Kyle in similar situations before, and he promised to change. Armed with enough information about his infidelity, she was ready to file for divorce. She asked me to refrain from taking action while she prepared the papers. This brings us back to today. Lauren entered the hotel lobby right on schedule and walked into the gift shop. She looked beautiful, but a little nervous. It seemed like she was putting in extra effort for her weekly date, which stung a bit. "Hi guys, are you waiting for me?" Beth Standish quietly approached me. "Lauren just showed up and is waiting in the gift shop. If all goes according to plan, Kyle should be here soon." Lauren browsed magazines, keeping her eyes on the lobby, searching for her lover. Soon, Kyle walked past the gift shop and approached the counter. I observed Lauren smiling at his arrival. A few minutes later, Kyle exited from behind the counter, stopped at the payphone, and entered the elevator. As soon as the elevator door closed, Terry entered the gift shop. He smiled and greeted his mother with open arms. Lauren seemed worried, and with his arm around her waist, Terry diverted her gaze from the lobby. Beth quickly retrieved the keycard Kyle had hidden and entered the elevator. Kyle was predictable. He always showered before engaging in faithful activities. Beth planned to wait in the hallway until she was sure he had started. Bradley and I approached Terry and Lauren slowly. "What a great surprise. Nice to meet you here, Lauren. Come join me and the boys for lunch." "John, why are you here? I thought you were supposed to be in Harrisburg. The meeting got canceled today, so I thought I'd have lunch with the boys. I tried calling you, but you weren't home. I can see why. Why are you here?" Lauren seemed upset. "I'm meeting Marcia Phillips here for lunch. You remember her, right, John? We went to elementary school together." She didn't notice the boys smiling at each other as she came up with this lame excuse. "No problem, Lauren. We'll make a reservation for 5, and she can join us." Lauren reluctantly walked with us to the restaurant. She seemed to have no choice. Before sitting down, she pulled out her cell phone. "I have to call Marcia and let her know things have changed. Put the phone away, honey. The hall isn't that big. I don't think she'll have any trouble finding us. I didn't want my wife calling Kyle while Beth was handling things." Lauren seemed a little nervous as we sat there. The boys were acting a bit subservient, but she didn't notice. Lauren placed her phone on the table next to the silverware, usually kept in her purse on the floor near her chair. After the waiter took our drink orders, We all sat in silence looking at the menu. I frowned slightly when I saw them smirking at each other. Are we going to wait for Marcia, Lauren, or are we going to let her order after she arrives? Go ahead and order right now. Marcia was a little dubious about making it in time for lunch. She might not show up at all. I figured if she didn't show up, I could still do a little shopping. Poor Lauren was piling one lie on top of another, trying to save face. I felt sorry for her, but I knew she deserved it. The waiter brought our drinks and took our order. Lauren only ordered a fruit salad. Not 15 minutes later, Beth came to the table. She was carrying all of Kyle's clothes and his shoes. Hey, Beth, how'd it go? It was really good. Thank you. John, my loving husband, was in the shower as we expected and didn't even notice I was there. I left the divorce papers on the dresser for him and decided at the last minute to pick up his clothes. Lauren looked very scared. The blush was gone from her face, and her eyes started to cloud over. She looked at me, then at Beth, not knowing what to do. Here's the key, Lauren. Thanks for lending it to me. I won't be needing it anymore. Beth carefully placed the key card next to Lauren's phone. Lauren stared at it with her mouth open. Her cell phone rang. She picked it up and looked at the number. Without answering the call, she turned the phone off and put it back. Here you go, boys. The Corvette is yours for the rest of the week. It's in my name, so don't worry. Thanks for your help, guys, but I gotta run. Have a nice meal. Lauren looked at me like she was begging for help. I didn't offer anything. She didn't even look at the boys. When the waiter brought the food, she apologized and went to the ladies' room. The boys and I had already eaten, and Lauren never returned to the table. I had Terry check the restrooms and sent Bradley to the room Kyle had taken. When Lauren left, she left her key card, cell phone, and purse on the table. 10 minutes later, they both returned, to no avail. Bradley said that the hotel had provided Kyle with a tracksuit while they were trying to get him home. Terry checked the ladies' rooms in the hotel, restaurant, and lobby and found nothing. I asked the restaurant manager to arrange for us to get help from hotel security. There was no indication that anything illegal or criminal had occurred. The security people tried to be as helpful as possible, but the only thing they could find was a security camera that showed Lauren going into the kitchen, not the ladies' room. The other cameras showed nothing. As a precaution, they called the Philadelphia police. Lauren could not be reported missing, but we could file an incident report for future reference if necessary. We waited a few more hours and then decided to go home in case she was there. She left her purse on the table with her credit cards, driver's license, and money. Lauren wasn't home. Epilogue. It's been 2 years since our lunch at Radisson. Terry is now a lieutenant in the Air Force. Bradley is in graduate school in California. Beth and Kyle got divorced. We never saw Lauren again or heard from her. I filed a missing persons report with the Philadelphia police after the required waiting period, but they found nothing. Legally, I'm still married. At some point, I will have to apply to change that status. In the meantime, I live in a big house alone. All of Lauren's clothes and other things are still here, just like she left them. I'm trying to figure out if lunch at Radisson was a good idea or a bad idea. I can't decide.